The Viridian Weave wing is the third wing in Amirdrassil, the Dream's Hope raid. It is home to the Council of Dreams and Nymue, the Weaver of the Circle. Very quickly going to describe how this guide is set up. The video is split into chapters for each boss. You can find them down below. The first chapter will describe the boss fight mechanics and each of the important abilities. The second chapter will be role-specific duties. LFR and Normal are practically identical, but I will make a note on differing areas. The Council of Dreams. This is a single-phase council fight where all three bosses must be defeated within 30 seconds of each other or they are healed. Each boss has a mechanic that counters another boss's ultimate ability. Think the Primal Council from the Vault of the Incarnates. The bosses have staggered energy bars. Urctos will reach his ultimate first, then Aerwynn, and finally Pip. The only boss that can be tanked is the bear. The other two bosses will teleport around but will remain stationary. Let's cover the minor mechanics and then we will cover the ultimates. Let's start with Urctos. Barreling charge. Urctos will target the tank and begin to charge. DPS need to jump in front of the arrow to also get hit by the charge. After Urctos finishes the charge, he lets out a roar that deals raid-wide damage. The more people that get hit by the charge, the less damage that the roar does. Urctos' tank buster is Agonizing Claws, taunt swap after each use. Aerwynn. She will continuously place green flower patches on the ground. Avoid these as they will do damage to you. Each of these flower patches also deals damage to the entire raid every few seconds. The more flower patches, the more raid-wide damage will be coming out. She also uses Poisonous Javelin, which will poison a few players, and this needs to be removed. The last of the trio, Pip, will use Emerald Winds, which will push everyone back from her location. Watch your feet so you don't get blown into something. Pip also uses Polymorph Bomb, which will turn players into a duck. Now, what do you do as a duck? First of all, you'll take 99% less nature damage and you'll have two abilities as a duck, Quack and Preen. Quack will give you a movement speed boost, and Preen will remove your polymorph effect. However, in order to activate Preen, you have to feed your duck. In order to feed your duck, you have to run over the green flower patches that are strewn about the arena. Once you consume enough flower patches, Preen will become active and you can use it. Whichever green flowers your duck eats will also remove them from the playing field, so this is a good way to keep the raid-wide damage in check. Preen also deals damage to anybody close by, so make sure you're alone before you change back from your polymorph. Now let's cover the ultimates. Urctos' ultimate is Blind Rage. He will begin pummeling the ground, dealing raid-wide damage. Each pound will increase in damage. In order to stop him, a duck must use Preen while standing next to him. This will also stun him briefly. Aerwynn's ultimate is Constricting Thicket. She will attach vines to all players, reducing movement speed and dealing damage every 3 seconds. The damage will also increase with each tick. In order to stop the ultimate, she must be hit by Urctos' charge ability. Finally, Pip. His ultimate is Song of the Dragon. This places an absorb on all players. This shield is broken by standing in the green flower patches. Watch your debuff and move out of the patch once the shield is gone. If not cleared, you will be stunned for the next 15 seconds. Urctos' abilities. Barreling Charge. This focuses on the current tank for 5 seconds and then he charges. Thundering Impact. This is the roar after the charge. It does damage to the entire raid. This deals less damage the more people that get hit by the charge. Agonizing Claws. This is the tank buster. It's a stackable debuff that inflicts big damage and increases damage taken from the next Agonizing Claws by 100% for 18 seconds. Blind Rage. 100 energy attack. He starts slamming the ground every 2 seconds. With each slam, the damage increases. Can be stopped by a duck using Preen near him. Ursine Rage. If Urctos is not interrupted during Blind Rage, it increases the damage he does by 500% for the rest of the encounter. Aerwynn's abilities. Noxious Blossom. Throws out green flower patches across the battlefield. This inflicts damage to the raid every 3 seconds until destroyed. Corrosive Pollen. When standing inside of a blossom, this deals additional damage every 0.5 seconds. Poisonous Javelin. This targets random players, it inflicts nature damage and then poisons them. Reduces movement speed by 30% and ticks damage every second. It lasts for 10 seconds or until removed. Constricting Thicket. This is her 100 energy attack. It attaches vines to all players. It reduces movement speed by 10% and deals nature damage every second. This stacks every 3 seconds and can be stopped by Urctos hitting her with his charge ability. Relentless Barrage. If Aerwynn is not interrupted during Constricting Thicket, she begins bombarding players every 0.5 seconds with her spear throws. Pip's abilities. Emerald Winds. This pushes back all raid members for 3 seconds. Polymorph Bomb. Turns targets into a duck for 12 seconds. Song of the Dragon. This is his 100 energy attack. It places a pollen absorb on all players that lasts the duration of the song, removed by standing in the green blossoms. Captivating Finale. If the absorb is not removed, players with the shield will be stunned and take nature damage every second for the next 15 seconds. Role-specific duties. Tanks. Keep the bear close to one of the other bosses. Taunt swap after each Agonizing Claws. Aim the charge towards Aerwynn. Healers. Remove poison from players hit by the javelin. Expect increasing raid damage during each boss's ultimate. Expect increasing raid damage the more green blossoms are active. DPS. Spread damage evenly between all bosses. Help soak the bear's charge, and as a duck, remove green flower blossoms to reduce the overall raid damage. Nymue Weaver of the Cycle. This is a stationary boss with a 2-phase fight that punishes bad positioning. The arena is split into sections with lines. The boss will activate some of these lines with her Matrix ability. If a player steps over one of these active lines without a grass path, it will apply a stackable dot that deals big damage over 2 seconds. The raid should be split into 2 groups for 2 reasons. Number 1, to reduce the amount of lines that have to be crossed to handle the soak mechanics, and number 2, to handle the big adds that spawn during Phase 2. Phase 1. There are 3 main mechanics for Phase 1. First is managing surge and growth. Small green flower beds will spawn around the map. As long as these are active, they will pulse damage to the entire raid. The more flower beds, the more raid damage your healers will be dealing with. In order to remove these patches, players need to stand on them and soak them. The second important mechanic is Impending Loom. The boss will spawn small orbs at her location. These orbs will create a line that links them together, and then it will travel out and away from the boss, slowly growing in size. These need to be avoided as they will deal damage and stun you for 3 seconds. The final main mechanic is tank related. The boss will place a bomb on the tank. The tank will have a ring appear around them at this time. The tank has to run this bomb away from any other players so it can explode. Anyone that touches the circle will take damage. Spacing is important as you will want to handle these abilities without having to cross any of the active lines. The remaining smaller abilities are Viridian Rain, which will target several players and deal damage to them over 6 seconds, and finally Verdant Matrix, which is the boss's ability that activates the lines on the arena floor. The boss will also deal raid-wide damage as she is drawing new lines. Phase 1 abilities. Verdant Matrix draws patterns on the floor of the arena. Crossing any of these active lines will apply a stackable dot that deals damage every 0.5 seconds for 2 seconds. Continuum. The boss removes the current lines and activates different ones over the next 10 seconds. This deals raid-wide damage every second until finished. Surging Growth. Small green flower beds on the floor spawn. These last 1 minute. They pulse raid damage and slowly grow in size. Can be removed faster if a player soaks. Impending Loom. Orbs with a line connecting them. Travels outward from the boss, growing in size. These will deal damage and stun any player it touches for 3 seconds. Viridian Rain. Several players are targeted. This deals damage every 1.5 seconds for 6 seconds. Weaver's Burden. This is the tank buster. It plants a bomb on the tank, generates a circle around the tank, anyone inside takes damage, and the circle will explode after 12 seconds. After it explodes, the tank is granted Inflorescence. Inflorescence. This creates a green grass patch under the player. Wherever the player walks, will spread it. This allows safe passage over the matrix lines without taking any damage. Phase 1. Role-specific duties. Tanks. Taunt swap after Weaver's Burden is cast. Run the bomb away from the group members and avoid crossing lines if possible. Watch out for impending looms while tanking as they will spawn on the boss. Healers. Expect constant raid-wide damage. Viridian Rain targets will take heavy damage. Anyone crossing lines will also take massive damage. DPS. Soak any surge and growth that are near you. Use defensive cooldowns when soaking or when targeted by Viridian Rain. Ranged DPS spread out in different sections. Avoid crossing lines as much as possible. Phase 2. At 100 energy, Nymue will channel an AoE blast around her. Both tanks should stand inside this blast. Once it goes off, the tank will obtain Inflorescence, which creates the green grass underneath them, allowing for safe passage over the active matrix lines. The boss will also summon 2 Cycle Wardens, one on the right side of the arena and one on the left side of the arena. These adds will be channeling Life Ward, which shields the boss from taking any damage. The tank should create a path from the boss to the wardens to allow the raid members safe passage across the matrix to these adds. These adds need to be tanked in their appropriate areas and not allowed to cross any of the matrix lines. If one of the wardens crosses a matrix line, it will deal massive damage to all raid members and increase by 100% with each cross. The wardens have 2 abilities. Lumbering Slam, which creates a huge frontal cone towards a player, and Radio Flourish, which sends out swirlies from its location. Both of these are easily avoidable, just don't cross any matrix lines. Once defeated, all players gain Inflorescence and can travel back to their positions safely for Phase 1 again. Phase 2 abilities. Full Bloom. This is the 100 energy attack. The boss creates an AoE around her. This deals big nature damage and inflicts players inside with Inflorescence. Unravel. A stacking damage debuff that increases by 10% every 3 seconds. This lasts until both Warden adds are defeated. The Cycle Warden's abilities. Lumbering Slam. This is a frontal cone attack that deals heavy damage. Radio Flourish. This creates swirlies that radiate out from the boss in 4 directions. Verdant Rend. This is massive damage from a Warden crossing a matrix line. Phase 2. Role-specific duties. Tanks. Stand inside the boss's AoE to gain Inflorescence. Create a path for your raid members to cross the matrix lines. Keep the Warden in his zone. Healers. Damage ramps every 3 seconds. Expect raid-wide damage once both wardens are defeated as new lines are drawn on the battlefield. DPS. Navigate safely to the adds. Watch your feet. Freely reposition yourself once the adds are defeated. So that's the third wing of Amirdrassil, the Dream Soap Raid. Show some support by pressing that like button. Subscribe if you enjoy WoW content. I have guides, tips and tricks, podcasts, and more. Channel memberships are $1 a month. They give you access to extra content and are a great way to show some extra support. Links to everything are down below. I'll see you in the next one.